Hello students, you're welcome to today's class. My name is Adebanke and we'll be answering some IGCSE chemistry questions. Let's dive into it. Question 1. The diagram shows the result of dropping a purple crystal into water. So looking at the diagram, we have a purple crystal in solid form into water, and after 5 hours we can see that the purple crystal already dissolved in the water, forming a purple solution. So what process actually took place in this experiment? The first part is we see the purple crystal in solid form, then it dissolved completely inside the water, and after dissolving it fills every part of the water to form a purple solution. It changes the color. That means it diffuses. There's a diffusion process that took place there. So, and there's no chemical reaction. The reaction, there is a physical reaction. So it can be reversible. So which process take place in this experiment? The first thing I said, it dissolved, that's dissolving took place. Then after that, diffusion, it diffuses and there is no chemical reaction. So option A, chemical reaction, diffusing and not dissolving. This is not correct. B, chemical reaction, diffusing, not diffusing and not dissolving. It's also not correct. So the only option that is correct here is option D. There is no chemical reaction. The purple crystal dissolved, that's dissolving, and also diffusing. So that makes option D to be the correct answer. Next question, question 2. Which row about elements, mixtures, and compound is correct? So in this table, which of the row is correct? Which option matches correctly with the headings of the table? So for metallic elements, the only metallic element here is copper. So we have option A and option C with copper. For non-metallic elements, the only non-metallic element here is sulfur. So we have option B and C here. So then for mixture, that's mixture of that two or more elements, which is brass. So we have option A and C here. And for compound, that's a mixture of two or more elements with a chemical reaction being taken place. That's methane. So let's see which one is correct across the headings in the table. So we have copper as a metallic element, non-metallic element sulfur, mixture for brass, then for compound methane. So the only option that is correct here is option C, copper as metallic, sulfur non-metallic, brass as mixture, methane as compound, option C. Question 3. What are the relative charge and relative mass of an electron? An electron is negatively charged. So looking at this option, which one is negatively charged? We have option C and D. So that's -1. Electron has a relative charge of -1 and a relative mass of 1 over 2000. So that makes option D the correct answer. -1 and 1 over 2000. Question 4. The atomic structures of four particles W, X, Y, Z are shown in the table below. So which particles are isotopes of the same element? Isotopes of the same elements have the same number of protons but different number of neutrons. That means they have the same atomic number but different mass number. So let's look at the table. From the table, we can see that only elements W and Y have the same number of proton, which is 2, but different number of neutron. They have the same number of proton, but looking at the neutron, we have X to be 2 and Y to be 3. So these elements exhibit isotopy. So that means option, okay, let's look at the option. We have A, Y, W, and X. That's not correct. B, W, and Y. C, X and Y, D, X and Z. So the only correct answer here is W and Y. Option B is correct answer. Question 5. Which row shows the properties of an ionic compound? So, with looking at the table, which of these options have the properties of ionic compound? Ionic compound are poor conductor of electricity, and another thing is that they have a very high melting point. So option A, good, that's conductor of electricity, and 98 degrees C. Then electrical conductivity of solid, B, good. Then with this 3652. Then C, poor. Then 78 as the melting point. D, poor, and 801. So like I said, ionic compound have they have poor electrical conductivity of solid and with a very high melting point. So that makes option B the correct answer, 4 and 801 degree C. Option D. Question 6. Which row describes the formation of single covalent bonds in methane? For covalent bond, they share pair of electrons, the shared electrons, just to attain the octet rule. So option A, atoms share a pair of electrons. Both atoms gain a noble gas electronic structure. B, atoms share a pair of electrons. Both atoms have the same number of electrons in their outer shell. C, electrons are transferred from one atom to another. Both atoms gain a noble gas electronic structure. D, electrons are transferred from one atom to another. Both have the same number of electrons in the outer shell. So the one that describes the row that describes the formation of single covalent bond in methane is that atoms share a pair of electrons and they both gain a noble gas electronic structure. That's option A. Question 7. Which equation represents neutralization of nitric acid using sodium hydroxide? So this is asking which of these equation illustrates a neutralization reaction. And what is a neutralization reaction? That's the reaction between acid and base to form salt and water. So let's look at it. The only option that exhibits neutralization reaction with the reaction of acid, which is HNO3, then with sodium hydroxide, that's the base, we give sodium nitrate, that's NaNO3 plus water. So this is correct. Option A is the correct answer. Looking at the states which they are, so take note of the states. They all have the same equation, but you just have to check the state. So these in aqueous, that's the base in aqueous, acid in aqueous, then salt in aqueous, and water liquid. Option A is the correct answer. Question 8. What is the relative formula of ammonium nitrate? So we have to calculate the relative formula mass. This is the formula for ammonium nitrate. So to calculate the relative formula mass, we need to know the atomic masses of each of the elements. So for nitrogen, the atomic mass is 14. For hydrogen, atomic mass is 1. Then for oxygen, atomic mass is 16. So the next step is to multiply the atomic mass with the number of atoms, then afterwards we sum them together. So for this first one, that's nitrogen, has just one atom times the atomic mass. Then for hydrogen, we see we have four atoms of hydrogen here. So that's 4 times the atomic mass, which is 1. Then for nitrogen, we have the atomic mass to be 14 with an, okay, that's 1. Let's start with the number of atom. 1 times the atomic mass, 14. Then we have oxygen, which is 3 atoms times the atomic mass, that's 16. So the next step is to multiply. That's 1 times 14 will give 14, plus 4 times 1 will give 4, plus 1 times 14 will give 14, plus 3 times 16, that will give 48. So 14 plus 4, that's 18, plus 14 plus 48 will give 62. So the addition of 18 plus 62, that's 80. So the relative formula mass of ammonium nitrate is 80. So from the option, we see that option A has 80. So option A is the correct answer. The next question, concentrated aqueous sodium chloride, that is known as brine, is electrolyzed using inert electrodes. So gases X and Y are produced at the electrode shown. So this is the diagram we see. This is the brine solution. These are the electrodes. So they are asking which gas is liberated at each of the electrodes. So at the cathode, which is negatively charged, the anode, which is positively charged. So the gas that is liberated at the cathode is hydrogen, while at the anode, the gas that is liberated here is chlorine ion is from, that's chloride ion is from. So chlorine is liberated at the anode here, which is Y. So from the options, we see that from what I've explained, at electrode, the cathode, the negatively charged part, hydrogen is liberated, while Y is chlorine. So the one that answers this question correctly is option B, hydrogen X, then Y chlorine. Option B is the correct answer. Question 10. Which statement about hydrogen fuel cells is correct? Hydrogen fuel cells, for example, like your battery. So, which statement about the hydrogen fuel cell is correct? A. Hydrogen fuel cells do not produce carbon dioxide. B. Hydrogen fuel cells do not need oxygen. C. The waste from a hydrogen fuel cell is an acidic gas. Then D. The reaction in a fuel cell is endothermic. That means it absorbs heat from the surroundings. So the only one that is correct here is hydrogen fuel do not produce carbon dioxide. That's they normally produce water as the waste. So they do not produce carbon dioxide. Option A is the correct answer. Question 11. A reaction pathway diagram is shown. This is a reaction pathway diagram. We see the energy plotted against the progress of reaction. And this is the reactants, then activation energy, then we have the products. So we say the question is asking that which statement about this reaction is correct. If you see this reaction, we see that the energy level of the product is higher than the energy level of the reactant. So in this type of reaction, when energy level of product is higher than reactant, is known as, like, there's an endothermic process that is going to take place. That means it's absorbing heat from the surroundings. So But otherwise, if the reactant is higher than product, that means there's an exothermic reaction, there's release of heat. So which statement about this is correct? The reaction increases during the reaction rate increases during the reaction. Option A. B. The reaction is endothermic. C. The reaction transfers thermal energy to the surroundings. D. The temperature of the surrounding increase. C and D means exothermic. That means there's release of energy. But for B, option B is endothermic. That's absorption of heat from the surrounding. So option B answers this question correctly. Question 12. Lumps of calcium carbonate react with dilute hydrochloric acid. So this is the equation that is provided here. We have carbon carbonate reacting with hydrochloric acid to give calcium chloride plus water and CO2. So which change in conditions decreases the rate of reaction? Option A, increasing the concentration of the acid. B, increasing the volume of the acid. C, increasing the size of the lumps of calcium carbonate. D, increasing temperature. So this question is simply asking that which change, what condition can actually decrease the rate of reaction? When temperature is increased, it increases the rate of reaction, increasing the collision, leading to increase in reaction. But if there's an increased size of the lumps, that means is a solid form, it's not in powdered. That means the surface area is not wide. If it's in powdered form, that means the surface area is wide, so that will increase the rate of reaction. But in this case, it's in solid state, so the increase of the size of the lumps of the calcium carbonate would decrease the rate of chemical reaction. There will not be increase in collision, free movements of molecules. There won't be increase, so that would decrease the rate of reaction. That means option C to be the correct answer. Solid copper 2 sulfate exists in two different forms. We have anhydrous, the anhydrous copper 2 sulfate. Then hydrated means we have water added to it. That's this anhydrous, and this is hydrated with 5 molecule of water. So this is hydrated. So one of these form is blue and the other is white. The one that is blue is dehydrated, then this is white, in white form. So which is blue form? We've answered that. The one that is in blue form is the copper sulfate with 5 molecules of water, hydrated. So, and how is this changed from this blue form to this white form? How is the change brought about? So, when heat is applied to this hydrated form, it loses its water of crystallization, which is these 5 molecules of water. Then we have only this copper 2 sulfate. So let's see. Option A says anhydrous is blue form, then change to white by addition of water. No, that is not correct. The one that we said is blue form is hydrated. So let's see. Hydrated option, we are left with option C and D, which is hydrated. So the change is the addition of water or heat. So for this to change to anhydrous, for hydrated to change to anhydrous, that's we need to apply heat to lose its water of crystallization. That makes option D the correct answer. That's blue form hydrated, and it changes to white form by adding heat. So option D is the correct answer. Next question, question 14. 4 redox reactions and statements about the equation as shown. So this is the reaction here. Then this statement is what is happening in this reaction. So which statements about the equations are correct? So let's see. In looking at this, we have carbon plus oxygen to give CO2. So if you look at the oxidation state of carbon here is 0 in option in 1 is 0. It does not have it has 0 oxidation state. But let's calculate the oxidation state of carbon in CO2. So from this C to CO2. So oxidation state of carbon here is 0. To calculate the oxidation state of carbon here, we have C plus the atomic the charge of oxygen here is -2. Then -2 times -2 times the number of atoms, that's 2. So we have C plus -4 equals 0. That to make C the subject of formula, which is carbon, we have C plus times -4 here. That will give us -4 equals 0. So to make C the subject of formula, -4 we go to the right hand side. So C is equals to, and the sign will change to plus, minus will change to +4. So for this first one, C has oxidation state of 0 to give oxidation state of +4. That means carbon is oxidized. That is correct. So let's see. Here CO2 plus C, so we give 2 CO2, carbon dioxide is oxidized. Then 3 CO2 plus this, carbon is oxidized. Then the last one, iron 3 oxide is oxidized. So from this, only 1 and 3 is correct. But we've already verified 1 to see that carbon is oxidized from 0 to +4. Let's see the second one. CO2 plus C to give to CO2. Let's verify the oxidation state. For the second one, C to 2CO. So the oxidation state of carbon is 0 here. For 2CO, we have 2C plus 2 times this 2 will give us 2 times the -2 to give 0. So we have 2C plus -4 to give 0. 2C minus times plus times -4 equals 0. Then 2C -4 will move to the other side to become positive, +4. Then to make C the subject of formula, we'll divide both sides by 2. That will be 2C divided by 2 equals to +4 divided by 2. These two will cancel these two. Then 2 here, 1, 2 in 4 will give 2. That means our C here is equal to +2. So we have carbon to have oxidation state of +2 and +4. So which statements about the equations are correct? So we have 2 plus 2 and +4. That's option C. So option C is the correct answer. Question 15. Sodium hydroxide forms an alkaline solution with a pH of 14. Which indicator turns yellow when added to this solution? pH of 14, that means is alkaline in nature. So which of these indicator turns yellow when it is added to this alkaline solution? A. Litmus. When litmus paper is added, does it turn yellow? Addition of methyl orange, does it turn yellow? Thymophenolphthalein, which color? Then universal indicator. For litmus will turn blue in alkaline solution. Thymophenolphthalein will turn blue. Universal indicator will turn purple. So the correct answer here is methyl orange. Methyl orange turns yellow when added to alkaline solution. That makes option B, methyl orange, to be the correct answer. Question 16. Which row identifies an acidic oxide and a basic oxide? So which row from this table as corresponds with the acidic oxide heading and basic oxide? So the option A, calcium oxide, copper oxide. So the only option that is acidic oxide is CO2, carbon dioxide, and copper oxide, CuO. That's option C is the correct answer. So question 17. A student makes aqueous copper 2 chloride by adding excess copper 2 carbonate to dilute HCl. So a student wants to dilute wants to no or a student makes aqueous this copper 2 chloride by adding excess copper 2 carbonate to dilute HCl. What is the next step in the method in the formation of solid copper 2 chloride? A. Crystallization. B. Evaporation. C. Filtration. D. Titration. So what is the next step since the student added excess? So the thing is that there will be insoluble copper 2 carbonate. So what is needed to be done is to filter the insoluble solid. So that makes option C the correct answer, filtration. Question 18. Which statements about trends across a period of the periodic table are correct? A. 1. Aluminium is more metallic than sodium. B. Beryllium is more metallic than carbon. 3. Boron is more metallic than lithium. 4. Magnesium is more metallic than silicon. So which of these statements are correct? So the two statements that are correct in the statements listed here are beryllium is more metallic than sodium, and we have magnesium to be more metallic than silicon. So number 2 and 4 are correct. That makes option C to be the correct answer. 2 and 4. The next question 19. Which row shows the trend in melting point, density, and reactivity as group 1 is descended? As group 1 is being descended, there's decrease in melting point, there's increase in density, and there's also increase in reactivity. So let's see the options that are provided. There's A, increase, melting point increases, density decreases, reactivity decreases. B, melting point decreases, density increases, reactivity increases. C, melting point increases, density increases, reactivity increases. D, melting point decreases, density increases, reactivity decreases. So the answer is option B. The row that shows trend in melting point, density, and reactivity as group 1 is descended is melting point decreases, density increases, and reactivity increases. That's option B. Option B is the correct answer. Next question, 20. Which rule describes a similarity and a difference between chlorine and bromine? For similarities, option A says both are gases at room temperature and pressure. The difference is that chlorine and bromine have different color. Option B says both exist as their atomic molecules, but the difference is chlorine is more dense than bromine. C says both have atoms with 7 outer shell electrons, while the difference is only bromine will react with aqueous sodium chloride. Option D says both chlorine and bromine react with aqueous potassium iodide, but the only difference is that chlorine is more reactive than bromine. So from these options that are listed here, the correct answer is both chlorine and bromine, they react with potassium iodide. But the only difference is that chlorine is more reactive than bromine. Option D is the correct answer. Question 21. Which statement describes transition elements? A. They have high densities and high melting points. B. They have high densities and low melting points. C. They have low densities and high melting points. D. They have low densities and low melting points. So the only statement that describes transition elements is that they have high densities and high melting points. Option A is the correct answer. Question 22. Which diagram shows the electronic structure of a noble gas? For a noble gas, you see their outer shell, they have the complete atoms on the outer shell. They obey the octet rule, they are complete. So from this, looking at these options that are provided, the only option with the outer shell with complete 8 atoms is option A. With complete 8 electrons rather is option A. So the answer is option A. So question 23. Which gas is made when zinc is added to hydrochloric acid? So let's look at it. When zinc is added to HCl, we have zinc chloride plus hydrogen. So which gas is made? We have carbon dioxide, B chlorine, C hydrogen, D oxygen. So the gas that is made here is hydrogen. So the answer is C, hydrogen. Next question, 24. Which metal is used in aircraft manufacture because it has a low density? A. Aluminium, B. Copper, C. Iron, D. Potassium. The metal that is used in aircraft manufacture is aluminium. Aluminium has low density. Option A is the correct answer. Question 25. The diagram represents the structure of a solid. See, they are tightly packed. So, which solid does the diagram represent? A. Brass, graphite, sodium chloride. So, the only answer that is correct, the only option that is correct here is brass only. It's only brass that has this kind of structure in an irregular pattern. Option B is the correct answer. Question 26. 3 students X, Y, and Z are told that solid P reacts with dilute acid and also conducts electricity. So 3 students, these X, Y, and Z represent 3 students, and they were told that okay, there's a solid that reacts with dilute acid and also conducts electricity. So the 3 students made their suggestion. X made suggestion, okay, copper is the answer. Y made suggestion of iron. Z made suggestion of graphite. So which student is correct among the three students? So the correct answer is Y. Y only. Option C. It's only Y that can react with acid and also conduct electricity, which is iron. Iron obeys that statement. Option C is the correct answer. Question 27. Which substances in air are needed for iron to rust? So that's corrosion. Which substances, makes iron to rust? A, oxygen and water. B, oxygen only. C, water and carbon dioxide. D, water only. So the substance that are needed for iron to rust is oxygen and water. Option A. Question 28. Part of the reactivity series of metal is shown here. So which row shows how each metal is extracted from its ore? So this is metal P, metal Q, and metal R. So the only row and option that shows how each metal is extracted from its ore is electrolysis of molten ore, then metal Q, eating with carbon. This is how it is extracted. And metal R is extracted by eating with carbon. So option D is the correct answer. Question 29. Several processes are used to treat domestic water. Which row identifies a reason for the given process? So this chlorination, they are used for addition of chlorine, but it does not only remove impurities, it kills bacteria. But this option is not correct. This is not correct. The only one that is correct is filtration, whereby you remove insoluble solid. Option B is the correct answer. And lastly, question 30. Which pair of compounds make an NPK fertilizer? NPK means nitrogen, then phosphorus and potassium. So which pair of compounds comprises of these elements, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium? So from the options listed here, the only compound we have ammonium sulfate. Ammonium sulfate has nitrogen present in the compound. Then potassium phosphate, we have potassium, then phosphorus. So this is complete. Um, you can see that the pair of compound that make nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. That makes option A to be the correct answer. And we have come to the end of today's class. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And if you have any question, make sure you drop them in the comment section. And see you in the next class.
Hi, I'm sure you enjoyed the content you just watched. To see more episodes as that, preparing you for your oncoming exams, smash the subscribe button on this channel right now and visit the playlist that we've made for you, covering over 50 type of different exams, including JAMB, WAEC, Kakao,